Sabrina.
Peace.
All right. Now let me put my watch. Good morning. I'm Dave Hanson, City Manager, Virginia Beach. Appreciate you all being here today. We're entering our second full day following this tragic incident here in our city. Our recovery is underway. Our grieving is underway. Our assistance to our families, our victims' families, is underway. And I'm going to come back and address some of these things, but I'm going to ask my Chief of Police, Jim Severa, to come up here and give you an update. And then I'm going to come back and talk about some other things that are ongoing, give you a good thumbnail about activities that are being underway throughout the city. So Jim, if you would, come on up.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to first talk about the fact that we have an open investigation. It's in its third day. One of the pieces of the investigation will include the motive for this horrific act, and a lot of questions have been asked about the suspect's employment status. We're going to look at that to see if it had anything to do with the horrific acts and the events that he perpetrated. However, that's part of the ongoing investigation. However, I will tell you, he was not terminated, and he was not in the process of being terminated. So hopefully we're going to put that piece of this to rest, and then I can move forward with our timeline, or as best as I can reconstruct the timeline at this moment. Remember what I always say, more information will be coming, so some information that I may give today may be different or slightly different tomorrow, or I may have additional information tomorrow. But this is what we know as of this moment. Emergency Communications dispatched officers to this call at 4:08 p.m. It included police, fire, EMS, which is Emergency Medical Services, and our Virginia Beach Sheriff's Office deputies to a report of shots being fired in Building 2. Within 2 minutes, the first officers arrived on scene. Now, when I say on scene, that's outside the building. And we have to remember, this building is 4 floors. It has a basement and 3 stories. It has numerous entrances, numerous exits, and they are different because citizens cannot enter certain areas and because they are secure. There are numerous stairwells in this building. There's a basement in the building. The basement goes to a tunnel which connects to another building. So this is not like being in the confines of this sterile environment where we are right now. This is a huge building, and we had no idea where the suspect was. We had no idea what the extent of the shots being fired call really included. But they were there within 2 minutes. The other thing that I need to say is that the building was originally constructed in the early 1970s when the city had a much smaller workforce. Since that time, construction has gone on for decades. Offices have been subdivided, entrances and exits to certain offices. It's a honeycomb. That's the best way to explain it. It's a maze where the workers are. Where the citizens come in is very well controlled, but those offices, especially the further into the building you get, becomes extremely difficult to navigate just because it's an older building and it's been reconstructed numerous times. And no, we did not have plans to the building. And we weren't in a place to be able to make those review plans. We were moving at a rapid pace. Between 4:15 and 4:18, and I have to give a little bit of time on that because officers call things in, but please remember, they're not calling things in when it's exactly happening because sometimes they have other issues to deal with, like where's the suspect, what kind of gun is he carrying, interviewing people to be able to find the suspect. There's myriad things happening at that moment in time, and it is extremely chaotic. So between 4:15 and 4:18, or 5 to 8 minutes after these officers began to enter the building, they made contact and engaged the suspect on the second floor of the building. Now, I want to pause here for a moment, because while they were in that process, other police officers were responding, and they were also making entry into the building, searching in other areas. I also have to accentuate the fact that these 4 officers did not work together. They worked in different commands. However, for years and years of training in our city, in our police agency, and the cross-training that we do with our partners in the Sheriff's Department, in our Fire Department, and our EMS Department, we cross-train and we train together on the same tactics. So therefore, these 4 officers who came from different commands, 2 are from the Detective Bureau, which is about, I said the other day, about 100 yards, 150. We measured it. It's actually 300 yards away from door to door. They responded from the Detective Bureau. 2 other officers who were K-9 officers responded via their vehicles en route. So they came from different commands, yet they formed a rapid entry team, and they entered the building. They found the suspect on the second floor and immediately engaged in a gun battle. I've been asked on a couple of occasions how long. I can't tell you how many minutes shots were being fired. I could tell you that in the police world, anything more than 3 to 5 shots is a long gun battle. That's what was happening. I could tell you that, although I do not have the exact number of rounds that the perpetrator fired, it was well into the double digits. The suspect was firing, he was moving. Remember, we had numerous office spaces, and the office spaces were connected, and then you would go into another space and it's not connected. Remember, doors were closed and were locked because individuals who were still on that floor were sheltering in place and doing exactly what everyone in the country is trained to do on an active shooter case. That's another sidebar, folks. We now have to train across America on active shooter cases. They were returning fire, and at one point, the suspect was firing through the door and through the wall at the officers, and then the firing stopped. They realized he was a distance from them. He was in another office. They realized the need to enter that office so that he would not then escape and perpetrate more violence on that second floor. So they had to figure a way to breach the door in a tactically safe and sound way. That's not an easy decision to make. There's an individual on the other side of the door. He has a gun. He just shot one of your officers. That officer was wounded at about 4:19 during the exchange of gunfire. Now we have to breach the door. They had to come up with a plan to do that. They did. They did not hear any gunfire inside that particular office. They eventually breached the door. And when they breached the door, suspect was then alive and was taken into custody, and first aid was immediately rendered to him. Has to be noted, while these original officers were doing this, the rest of the building was being secured. Remember, we always tactically respond to the thought of numerous suspects. So other officers were going through the building and basically assisting our employees in getting out of the building in a safe and secure manner. While our officers were engaged in this, we're removing individuals who were wounded, moving individuals who were injured. Fire and EMS personnel were on scene. We reacted in what we call a tactical rescue task force. I apologize. In that, fire and rescue personnel at times were embedded with the police to actually move down a hallway and find individuals to get them out of the building. So, in summing up some of this, I want you to know that the total time from arrival to contact is between 5 and 8 minutes. The total time that it took to take the individual into custody, render first aid, get him out of the building was 36 minutes. The first critical transport was made 25 minutes from the time the call went out to that ambulance left the scene. Now remember, there's a lot that goes on in finding an individual who's injured and getting them to an ambulance in rendering the aid that they need at the ambulance before that ambulance moves to a hospital. The last injured individual was transported within an hour of the original call going out. Also want to mention that during this entire time, our 911 dispatchers had command and control of the radio, which was extremely chaotic, especially with extremely busy, extremely intense, especially with a number of other city agencies responding to the scene. So that's the best timeline that I can give you right now. We've interviewed the officers. We've gone through our computer dispatch system. We are interviewing firefighters, rescue personnel, sheriff's department personnel, as well as other city workers who were in the building at the time. I will ask the city manager to come back to the forum.
Grab your phone, Chief. All right. Somebody left the phone up here. All right, so let me repeat what the chief just told you. We have an open investigation that is just in its third day. This includes establishing a motive. To the extent that the subject's employment status has anything to do with these events, that will be part of the ongoing investigation. However, he was not terminated, and he was not in the process of being terminated. So where are we and where are we going? I've made a determination that we will be closing the city offices of our municipal center on Monday. This will include the treasurer's office and the commissioner's office, which is inside Building 1. Schools and courts will operate along with all other city offices around the city on their normal schedule. There may be, under these modified conditions, a requirement for essential personnel associated with those closed offices to come in and assist us in the relocation effort that will be underway. On Tuesday, we expect to open up all the municipal center city offices, to include the treasurer and the commissioner's office, except for Building 2, that will be closed until further notice. A significant amount of relocation effort, planning, and movement of office technology, files, and associated furniture necessary to relocate those functions will be underway throughout this week and into the following week, so that we can figure out a way to continue providing services to our citizens, our businesses, and our visitors. There will be significant memorial services scheduled, both internal for our staff as well as external for families and friends. And I appreciate everybody who is stepping up to help sponsor those. Those are being identified on our VBGov website, and we will continue to add to that list. I'm extremely pleased with the effort ongoing with our family liaison teams. Family liaison officers have been appointed from our honor guards in the police department and the fire department, along with chaplains and leadership from departments and my office. We have reached out and contacted all the victims' families last night and into this morning. We are now extending our liaison support to our wounded, to those that are in the hospital and the families that are supporting them. And we will be wrapping our arms around them as they are coming out of their surgeries, because all of them have had multiple surgeries. And they are progressing, and our prayers are with them. These family liaison teams are providing them information about where their loved ones are, how their loved ones are being released from the medical examiner, how to move forward with those important funeral decisions. We are wrapping our arms around them about their benefits, about where we're going to support them. We are a point of contact, and we are making sure that they know they are not alone. And that is our critical function. At the same time, our employee assistance programs are taking shape, and multiple teams from our sister cities, from our state agencies, from our federal agencies are pouring in to assist us as we wrap our arms around our employees so that they can come to grips with what transpired all around them, and so that we can get our stuff together so that we're able to resume normal lives and resume our mission of supporting services to our great city. So I appreciate you all being here and covering this story, but please understand that there are a lot of people that are not as open to discussing family and personal matters as some others might be, and so we are still respecting the privacy and of our families. So at this time, Chief and I are prepared to take questions.
For either of you gentlemen,
Chief.
do you have any information on individuals, and if so, who were those individuals?
Sure, Steve.
At this point of the investigation, we do not have any of the information that he was targeting anyone specifically.
Chief, if I could ask, you continue to make the point that he was not terminated or being in the process of being terminated. Was there a disciplinary process underway? Was there some tension you've identified between him and his work area?
Okay, so as a manager, I have had a very thorough review of the status of the perpetrator. I have, to my knowledge, the perpetrator's performance was satisfactory, that he was in good standing within his department, and that there were no issues of discipline ongoing.
Were any of his coworkers concerned about him? Were there any complaints made about him? Any concerns raised about his behavior recently, or anything like that?
We continue to look at that. There are significant interviews that you all are conducting and out there. We are not sensing that, and I have no evidence that that is the case.
And I just want to ask you, that day, do you have a good sense of what time he came to the building? Did he leave the building? Did he come back in? Was it a normal work day for him? Anything you can tell us about his activity that day?
As a city employee, what we can track is entry and exit of certain doorways because we have our codes to do that. So as part of the investigation, what we're going to do is, as best as we can, put together his total activities from the morning until he perpetrated this crime.
But it was a normal work day for him, right? It wasn't, as far as you know, it was a normal work day for
Yes,
him.
it was a normal
Considering
work.
you are putting water on this idea that he was disgruntled or about to be disciplined, are you encouraged at all, based on the interviews that you've had, about following other motives?
I'll take it. Okay. Words matter. Sir, we've spoken previously. I'm not putting water on it. I'm trying to give the facts. We're looking as deep as we can into motives from work, personal motives, professional motives, motives that could have happened. Right now, we're in the process of doing all this. Right now, we do not have anything glaring. There's nothing that hits you right between the eyes. But we are working on it, and I will, because we're on TV all over the region, if anyone has any information on this particular individual, on a motive, on past experiences with him, let us know so we could put it all together. Because remember, as the manager said, we have a large workforce, and we want that large workforce to be able to come to work and feel safety. There's only so much safety and security you're going to feel immediately, but just so they know they're safe and secure in their work environment.
The suspects,
Hold-
just one
hold-
follow-up to that.
All right, let's one moment, sir. Let's have some semblance of order. So I'm going to finish because he probably has a follow-up, then I'll come back to you, sir.
The suspects' relatives have a message posted asking for privacy. They are grieving for their own family and also the other victims. Have the suspects' family and relatives been in communication with you guys? Are they providing information as well?
The investigators, our team of detectives are out interviewing everyone. So if they have not immediately been, all the family members been spoken to, they will, as quick as we can get to everyone. This is a large-scale investigation. Now, sir.
In your timeline, you said that the team of officers breached the office door that the suspect was shooting through. And then you say he was alive and taken into custody.
Yes.
What happened next?
They immediately rendered first aid. They extricated him from the building, and he was transported to the hospital.
And we're to assume, we're to understand that that's where he died.
1 second. Yes, sir.
Can you
But again, I want to accentuate the fact that we rendered first aid at the scene, as we always do.
So you're making the point that there are efforts made to save this individual despite what he had done?
Yes, sir, and I'm glad you really picked up on that, because put yourself in that position. You just took numerous rounds. One of your fellow officers was just injured, was shot. You find the individual, and then you immediately switch over to, I'm going to try and save his life, because our police officers truly believe in the sanctity of life, sir. Thank you for asking that question.
Can you provide any details on this?
Wait a minute, sir. She had her hand up first.
Were any of the 4 officers that arrived on scene, did any of them have body cameras, or were there any cameras rolling at the time?
They did not have body cameras. We are in the process of phasing in body cameras across the department. 2 of them would not have had body cameras because they're detectives, so they would be one of the last to get body cameras. So the answer to your question, they did not have body cams. And we do not have any access to any other video at this time in the building.
Chief,
One, now, sir, I'll get to you.
can you provide any details on his movement in and out of the building on that day?
Once again, that was asked previously. We're doing the best we can to reconstruct his entire day. Okay.
Chief,
Yes.
is there any chance that the shooter left his job voluntarily? Because one of his longtime colleagues said that he had put in his 2-week notice shortly before the shooting. Is that true?
I got it.
Okay, yes, sir.
Yes,
It is true.
He was resigning?
yes.
Can you confirm that his direct supervisor is among those who died, Richard Nettleton?
He was not his immediate supervisor, but he was in the chain of command.
Did he give any reason why he was resigning? Did he write a letter of resignation?
We are determining where that letter is.
And can you say when he submitted it?
He notified his chain of command that morning.
The morning, Friday.
Yes.
In person or by email?
My understanding is he did that via email.
He was not forced to resign?
Negative.
Was the resignation over a position that he was applying for and did not get?
Not to my knowledge.
Chief, the 36-minute timeline that you laid out, when does that 36-minute period begin? When the officers arrived on the scene or when they entered the building?
The 36-minute timeline, and let me refer back.
Chief, that's when we're dispatched.
From time of dispatch to time of suspect in custody.
And what time did you all breach, was it 36 minutes you all breached the door and had him in custody? In the first round, you said that the 36 minutes included when he was transported.
I cannot hear you, sir.
The 36 minutes you had said was ending when he was transported. So how far into that period?
No,
when
sir,
you
I
all
said
went into custody?
time of dispatch to custody is 36 minutes.
So when did you all, okay, thank you.
Do you have a time of death for the shooter?
I do not with me at this time. 1 minute, sir. Yes.
Are you able to provide any updates on the weapons that were found at the shooter's home?
The ATF provided that yesterday. I don't know if they provided all the information. Once that's relevant, we will get that information out.
We were
Yes,
still
sir.
waiting to identify those guns. Do we know if they were altered in any way?
I-
Or have an
I'm going to have to defer to ATF.
Chief.
And there, one moment, sir, because he, yes, sir.
I think you mentioned the time of contact during the gun battle, 5 to 8 minutes. That, were you saying that it was 5, the gun battle itself with
Yes.
bullets was 5 to 8 minutes?
Yes, sir. Which is a long time.
Yes.
I'll be right back to you. Yes, sir.
Can you describe the room where the shooter was encountered, and was it like an office or like an enclosed office? When the officers did they actually witness him shooting somebody?
I cannot comment on that at this time, because I don't have all the facts in front of me.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
You made mention a lot about the extended magazines that the shooter had. Do we know when, do you guys know when he purchased those? What does that tell you in terms of why would someone have that kind of a magazine?
Again, I'm going to defer that until I have all the facts in front of me from the ATF. By the way, the ATF has been superb in assisting in this particular investigation. They understand the criticality of the information we need. We're going to take just a few more questions, so yes, sir.
Is there any indication of a self-inflicted gunshot?
I do not have that information at this time. As a matter of fact, that'll have to come from the medical examiner's office, as best as he can reconstruct. Yes, sir.
Did the shot that subdued him, did it go through a door or did it go through a wall?
I do not have that exact information. That's being pieced together by the detectives, by the evidence recovery team, and eventually through the medical examiner's
But
office.
just to be clear, he was behind a door or a wall of an office?
He was.
Okay.
Last question.
Chief, was there anybody in the room with the suspect at the time when officers were able to get in?
I do not have any information that there were any other people in that room, and I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to take, because you had your hand up for quite some time, so I'm going to take this one as our last.
I kind of have a two-part question.
Well,
I just wanted to figure out, first, when you guys searched his residence, did you find any letter, anything that would give you any indication for a motive? And then the second part, I wanted to ask about the officers that rendered aid. Could you give any sort of specifics as to what sort of aid they rendered, what sort of devices they used, and how long? Like, I don't know if you talked with those officers, if you could give any sort of...
the first question, I'm not going to release any information as to what we found inside the home. And as far as the second one goes, I do not have specifics as to what kind of first aid they rendered. All of our officers carry tourniquets. We also have certain pieces of equipment in the police cars. I don't know, it's commonly referred to as a go bag. I don't know if they had those with them at the time, but I will certainly be able to follow up on that.
All right, thank you.
All right. Appreciate y'all being here today. Thanks, counsel. As always.
Hey, gentlemen, I need everyone to remain back behind the wall, please, so everyone exits, and then I will have you.
Yeah, we're probably going this afternoon. We're working through it. You know, we're trying to get priorities. I got to go visit people in the hospital first. That's
He
priority.
says he can build that
I
like
know,
that.
we had a long talk with him, and we're